What's up guys, it's Zach here. Welcome to this video on muscle gain and the 3 crucial steps that you need in order to start gaining muscle right now. So first off, for any of you guys who are new to this channel and don't know who I am, my name's Zach. I'm an online fitness and performance coach from Gold Coast, Australia, and I essentially help people to improve their performance, get in their best shape, improve their mindset, and really take charge of their life. So welcome to this channel, and I'd love it if you hit subscribe, like this video if it helps you out. So a little bit of a background just before I start this video. When I first started getting into fitness, and for a lot of guys that have struggled with gaining muscle, it's been such a common thing for me. I struggled for about 10 years trying to gain muscle, and my weight would fluctuate all the time. It would go up and down, and I just didn't know what it was that I was doing wrong. I was training, I'd have my protein shakes, I had my workout program from bodybuilding.com, and I went into the gym and I was doing my training, but I couldn't figure out why it was that my weight would fluctuate and I wouldn't get the results that I wanted. And these are actually the 3 things in this video that I'm going to give to you are the 3 things I wish I knew before I started my fitness journey, before becoming a personal trainer, before doing any nutrition certifications or anything. When I was just starting out in my fitness journey, these are the things that I wish I knew. So muscle gain is something that a lot of people struggle with, especially the guys that I know and some of the girls too. And a lot of the times it comes down to a couple of different things that they just don't have in place that is helping them to consistently gain muscle over the course of months and years. Muscle gain is not inherently an easy journey. It does take hard work, it does take consistency, which is the key thing. It does take discipline, but there are 3 main things that I have found that will really help you to be able to kickstart the journey, and you'll start to be able to see some significant results if you implement them. Now, when it comes to muscle gain, one of the key things that people miss out on is having a structured program in place. Now, structured program, I don't necessarily mean just training. I mean also with your calories, with everything that you do from sleep to training to nutrition to your mindfulness practices or wellness practices as well, that helps you to optimize for results when you're trying to gain muscle. And the thing is, when you don't have all of these different ducks in a row, it makes it very difficult, or it throws off the progress that you could have gotten had you had these things in place. So the first step in you being able to gain muscle consistently and see significant results is to have a personalized and structured training program. I can't emphasize the importance enough of having a personalized program, because when I first started on my fitness journey, I just went and downloaded some random workout from just a website that I thought, oh, that'll get me the results. But little did I know that it had no personalization. It didn't have anything in there that helped to fit to my lifestyle, where I was currently at, my training age, meaning how long have I been training for in the gym. And it also wasn't personalized to be able to correct for things like posture and other things that maybe I've picked up over time. You sit at desks a lot these days, and a lot of the times we need to work on our posture as well, which actually helps us to build an overall balanced physique. And none of these things are incorporated when you download a random workout program. It needs to be personalized to you. That doesn't necessarily mean that you need to go and hire a coach. Now, of course, I would recommend that as a coach, because you're going to fast track your progress if they're a good coach, of course. But it could simply mean that you need to personalize the approach for you based on your training age, based on where you're at in life as well, how much time you can allocate to a training program, how much time can you commit into putting into that, and fitting it around your lifestyle so that you can incorporate that and be more consistent. That's the key thing. You need to have this all consistent with your lifestyle. And although obviously you need to make changes in order to actually make it happen, it still needs to be sustainable, and you still need to be able to fit it in and make it a part of your life. So that's why it's very important that the approach and the training program that you have is personalized to you, whether or not that's through having a coach or having some kind of program, or whether or not you're using AI to generate a training program for you and you input your information, whatever it might be, it needs to be personalized to you. That's the key thing, so that you can be consistent with that program. So there are a couple of different things you can do to make sure that your program is personalized to you and fits with where you're currently at in your life. Firstly, ask yourself the question, are you brand new to training? Have you been training for a couple of years? Have you been training for, 5 years plus? Are you very advanced? That's the questions you need to ask yourself. And then you need to, from that point, you need to also ask yourself, where are you currently at? How much time do you have to commit to a program? These types of things all come in with the personalization of your own individual program. And that's why it's important to personalize it and find something that works for you. So that's something you can do as a first step. Now, one of the things you can also do, I've actually developed a couple of different training programs that are available for free on any of the links. I'll put them in the description below this video, but you can also utilize those too, free of charge. I just want to provide value to you guys. So, if you want to get started and you're not sure where to go, see if one of them are suitable for where you're currently at and, make your choice if you would like to do that or not. So the training programs that I have developed for free have actually been personalized for correcting for postural dysfunctions first. So a lot of the times these days, people are sitting a lot. We have a lot of protraction here, bringing the shoulders forward, and have a lot of shoulder rounding. So in order to correct that, I try and achieve the overall balance of the physique at the same time as correcting for postural dysfunctions and so forth. So see if that's something suitable for you. If you want to check that out, that's in the link below. But that's just one step you can take towards seeing if that's personalized enough for you. Another thing you can do is also just go out onto the web and search for free programs and check out what type of programs might be suitable for you. But just make sure and keep in mind that when you are searching for those programs, you need to make sure that you're going to be able to sustain that. And as I've mentioned before, you need to make sure you're asking yourself those previous questions that you will be able to sustain those workouts and that program over a consistent period of time to be able to gain muscle. Another thing you could do is you can also purchase once-off programs from people. So if you don't want to go down the free route, you really want to actually invest a bit more money into it, you can also find programs that have been pre-developed and you can download those, you can purchase those somewhere and find which one is suitable for you. Making sure that you are incorporating and asking yourself those questions before you go and purchase any programs, that you will be able to sustain that for a consistent period of time, over a long period of time. And the last step you can do is to go and hire a coach and get a personalized program made specifically for you and your circumstances and where you're currently at. This is going to be the best approach, obviously, because you're getting a personalized approach to you. You're getting it made and tailor-made to where you're currently at with your training age, with your, your lifestyle. Maybe you've got kids, maybe you don't, maybe you're 25 and you're not married yet by yourself. You've got a lot more time to invest in yourself and into your health and fitness. Then that's going to be something that's going to play a role in how consistent you can be with your program. So all these different factors come into play, and that's why hiring a coach can also be a helpful tool when you're trying to achieve your fitness goals. So the next step in this process is you need to calculate your caloric requirements for muscle growth. Now, what I mean by this is, in order for you to be able to consistently gain muscle, you need to put yourself in a consistent caloric surplus. This is the only way to gain muscle consistently. And for me personally, this was a game changer when it came to gaining muscle. For a lot of the period of time, I was struggling to gain muscle and I couldn't figure out what it was. Once I did a nutrition certification and actually started applying this on myself, learned about how caloric balance and how I learned about macronutrients and how it affects body composition, this was a game changer for me. It changed everything. And that was when I went from 83 kilograms to 110 in the course of a year, which is it's not a small number. In muscle gain, that's a lot. And especially doing it unenhanced without any performance enhancing, that is a lot of muscle gain. So for those of you who are not aware of what a caloric surplus is, calories are simply a unit of measure. And I'm not gonna go and dive into a lesson on caloric balance and all these different things. What I will say is that your body on a daily basis requires a certain amount of calories in order to stay alive, to function, to run its daily operations, what it needs to do, provide you with the energy that you need to go and do whatever it is that you do. And in order for you to gain muscle, you need to put yourself in a consistent caloric surplus. Now, what this means is that on a consistent daily basis, you are eating more or consuming more calories on a daily basis than your body burns. So you're having a surplus at the end of the day of calories that you haven't burnt through whatever functions. Now, this is very, very important because if you think about it in another context, if you're trying to build a building and you want to build that building, you need materials. You need materials in order to build that building. If you don't have any extra materials to make it taller, how do you build it? How do you add that on there? Your body's the same. You need to have extra calories, extra energy coming into your body that it can utilize for muscle gain. Now, for those of you who know this concept already, this might seem obvious too, but when you apply this over a long period of time, this will be a game changer for you when you can stick to it. Now, I'm going to give you a couple of tips as well on how you can make this consistent. Okay, so like everything that I teach, I always teach sustainability when it comes to trying to achieve any goal. Because if you can't do it for a long period of time, then why would you do it for a short period of time? Very, very important concept. Because I see a lot of people trying to do crash diets and fad diets and doing all these different extremes, and then they fall off track, and then they get disheartened, they get disencouraged, and they usually fall off track, fail, and give up. And that's just not an approach that you need to take. So I'm going to give you a couple of tips that you can use to gain muscle consistently using this caloric surplus, and a couple strategies to help you be able to stay consistent with it. So before I dive into any strategies on sustainability for your caloric surplus, you first need to calculate how many calories it is that you need. So in order to calculate that, I've actually built a tool for you below, and you can click on that and you can download a free copy of that, and that will tell you how much you need on a daily basis to consistently grow muscle. And it's an adaptive calculator, so what you can do is over time, you can go back and refer to this, and then you can input your new information as you see progress, and it will update based on where you're currently at. So check that out in the link below, and you can get your free copy of that and start making progress. Okay, so now we're going to go into a few tips for how you can incorporate and how you can consume more calories on a daily basis. And these things have been based on what I've used in my own journey that have really helped me to increase my caloric intake. Because one of the things that I've found people struggle with is consuming enough calories on a daily basis. And for me, that was a struggle until I learned a couple of these different things. And some people just find it really hard to eat that much food. So here are a couple of things that you can do in order to get more calories in during the day. Now, number one is to incorporate liquid calories into your diet. So liquid calories could come in the form of shakes, smoothies, juices, or other flavored drinks that can help you to get more calories in throughout the day. I've found these to be quite helpful for me, as it's not always, you don't always feel like you want to eat another meal, especially it takes up a lot of room in your stomach. So this can help to just add some extra calories in after you've had your meals or before, whichever you prefer, but it just helps to add those extra calories in. Another thing you can do is to add in calorie dense snacks between your meals. This could be something like protein bars, it could be something like different muesli bars or whatever else, a handful of nuts, some fruit, whatever it might be. And probably if you can try and go on the end of more calorie dense foods, like the bars would probably be more helpful, or if you can prepare small meals, that will be also helpful. But even if it's like a shake in between your meals, that's also something that's going to help to add more calories into your daily intake. Now, when it comes to guidelines for eating, I see a lot of people go on the extreme, and I've made this mistake in the past too, is to go on the extreme and try and eat all junk food and do what they call the dirty bulk. But really what actually ends up happening with that is you just feel like trash, and it's not super helpful for your fitness journey anyway. It's not super helpful for your overall health either. So I recommend, and this is what I recommend to all my clients as well, is to take a more sustainable approach that incorporates healthier foods, more effective foods, and also junk foods. So one of the approaches that I take and what I teach my clients is to take a more sustainable approach when it comes to kind of clean eating, as they call it, versus more treat or leisure foods or junk foods. And the formula or the guideline that I like to go by for that is the 80-20 rule. Now the 80-20 rule states pretty much that, not a hard and fast rule, but it's just, and you can play with the formulas on this if you want to do 90-10 or if you want to do 75-25, doesn't really matter. Overall, we want to be looking to improve over time, but 80-20 is a good guide to go by. And it's basically 80% of the time you're eating good, solid, clean, whole foods and trying to eat minimally processed foods. 20% of the time, you're consuming junk foods, treat foods, whatever it is that you enjoy, and that can be on a daily basis too. And basically, this is going to give you a bit of balance in your diet. It's going to give you a bit of flexibility so that you don't have to feel restricted. So most of the time, people fail on diets, they fail on most of fitness endeavors because they're trying to restrict themselves too much. And when you don't have the flexibility in there, you always want what you can't have. And you end up binging, you end up falling off track, and it's not helpful for your overall long-term progress. So incorporate that rule and it'll help you out a bunch. So if you want to check out that calorie calculator as well to help you out, get started on your journey to start gaining muscle consistently, check out that calorie calculator below. and that'll help you out to get started. So once you have your training program, your personalized training program, and your calories in place, you know how much you should be eating on a daily basis, you know how much protein you should also be eating, which I'll add is also included in the calorie calculator, then now you want to move on to the third step, which is progressive overload. So for those of you who don't know what progressive overload is, it simply means making your training harder in one way, shape, or form every single week. You're increasing the stress on the muscles to force them into growth. A lot of people like to overcomplicate this process, and they try and add an extra set every single week onto their program and then try and do the same number of reps as well. This is usually a recipe for not only disaster, but injuries, and yeah, you'll be off for a long time if you don't do it correctly. Because I see a lot of people who go into the gym and they do the same thing day in, day out for weeks, months, and years, and then they wonder why they're not seeing progress. And a lot of the times it comes from them not placing enough stress on the muscles to force them into growth. And that is where progressive overload comes in. So when it comes to progressive overload, when you're applying this in the practical sense to your training, there's usually 3 main approaches that you can use to apply this. And I'm going to say these in order as well of what I personally recommend as a personal trainer, because it's going to allow you to focus on form first and build up from there. It's also going to help you to stay safe in the gym and to progress in a way that will allow you to get more reps in and to be more efficient with your movements and make sure you have those down pat with technique before you move up to increasing weight and load. So the first way to apply progressive overload is to increase the number of reps. This is the first one that I would recommend, because it's one of the easiest ways to apply progressive overload without complicating your program too much. Now, that doesn't mean that you need to apply more reps on every single set throughout your whole workout. It could simply mean, say for example, if you go into the gym and you're doing bench press, it could mean that one week you're doing 8 reps on the bench for 3 sets, and the next week you come into the gym, you're doing for literally just 1 set of those 3 sets, you're doing 9. You do 9 reps or 10 reps. Try and do 1 or 2 more. And then for the other ones, you don't need to do any more. Now, if you could do a little bit more, that's okay. But the really important thing is to not push yourself too far. So many people, they take progressive load way out of proportion, and then they add like a full set, and then they try and add 2 reps on every single set, and they end up injuring themselves, and they think, oh, the injury just came out of nowhere. It's usually because you're trying to push too hard. Progressive overload doesn't need to be something that is overcomplicated. It only needs to be a small amount every single week to see consistent growth over a period of time. So don't overcomplicate it for yourself. When you go into the gym, if you're doing 3 sets of 8 reps, try to go in the next week and add in one more rep or 2 more reps onto 1 or 2 of those sets. That's all you need to apply it consistently and progressively overload. Another strategy you can use for applying progressive overload is to increase the number of sets. So if you're doing 3 sets of 8 reps on bench press, maybe the next week you come in and you do 4 sets of 8 reps on the bench press. And that's just a simple way you can do it. But as I mentioned before, I would apply the reps strategy first before you move into adding sets, as it's an easiest way to do it, and you can also practice your form and technique before you move on. So the last one you can do is to increase the amount of weight. Now, I've strategically put this as the last step in the process because I want you to also focus on your technique first. That's going to get you better results by focusing on your technique, form, and increasing the reps and sets first before you increase weight. You will get more quality results out of that than simply increasing the weight. I've seen a lot of guys, including myself before I was a PT, I made this mistake as well, trying to ego lift, simply just going into the gym and adding on more weight, and you end up sacrificing form usually, and that's a recipe for injury. So you're better off following the first 2, and then once you've mastered the form and technique on that, then you can add weight. There's another strategy you can use, which I haven't added in here, that you can use to apply progressive overload into your training, and that is actually to increase the time under tension or slow down the tempo of your reps as you're doing it, and it will help to apply, as I said, more time under tension for the muscle. This is another way to apply that progressive overload, but the caveat is that you have to standardize that tempo across all of your reps. And what I mean by that is, if you're gonna do, say, 3 seconds down on the descent of a squat, then you need to standardize that across all reps. You can't just do it on one and then you do 2 seconds on the next one and then you do 1 second on the following one. You have to standardize that across all of them so that it's consistent and you can see and track that that overload over time. That's why I didn't include it in there, but it is another one you can use. However, I would probably recommend the first 3 steps first. And obviously, before any of that stuff, make sure that you have your technique and form down pat before you start doing any of that. Before you add any more reps, before you add any more sets, and before you add any more weight, definitely focus on your form. Technique comes before everything. And that will make sure that you get the best results. From that point, you'll develop the strength that you need in that lift. And from that point, you can also apply the other principles of progressive overload and get better results without the risk of injury. All right, guys, so we've come to the end of the video. I hope you guys have gotten some value out of this, and hopefully you can go and apply all these lessons and start seeing some real results. I'd love to hear what your results are. Let me know what they are in the comments. I imagine there'll be a couple of months in advance because it takes time. But we've gone over your 3 steps for gaining muscle and the process you need to go through for that. So number 1, we've gone through personalizing a program to you. The second one, we've gone through caloric targets as well, what you need in order to maintain that caloric surplus, and a couple of tips for that. And the third one was to apply progressive overload and how to do that in a couple of different ways too. So I really hope that you guys got some value. If you want to check out those resources that I've mentioned in the video, you can check them all in the link below. And if you haven't already, I'd love for you to like and subscribe for more videos like this. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know more videos you'd like me to make, what you'd love to hear about. But either way, I hope you guys have enjoyed this, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Cheers.